So, next thing I wanted to go into would be the Diddy case. I heard from Diddy in a while, or even came up with anything about the Diddy situation. So, sounds like Diddy is trying to gear up for his um, sentencing date. So he's having character witnesses write letters about what's going on with him. Um, Seems like he has Young Miami speaking up for him as of now. Um, she wrote a letter to the judge, speaking to Diddy's character, saying that she doesn't know, anything about who or what that person was doing before. Excuse me. But for the time that she was around Diddy, she can only speak to the good things that she's seen from him, the encouragement of her with her career and the things that he's done for people that she's seen around him and how he conducts business and being a mentor and someone who's a positive in a lot of people's lives. So people are kind of trying to criticize her for stepping out, saying something now when she was kind of super quiet, when it looked like it didn't look so good for him. But she steps out now to speak up for him. So I would say better late than never. But she was ducking. Like, for a minute, she was not trying to be a part of the situation that was going on, which I think at the time was smart for her brand and business. And I think at that time, everybody was trying to figure out a way to stay away from Diddy. Did not want to be involved next to or anything with that situation at the time, but she's one of the first to step out and say something positive about the man's character to try and help him with. Y'all like my shirt? It's from Mexico. Okay, cool. So Mayan king, a Mayan warrior. Got a lot of compliments on it too going through the airport, but anyway, here and there. That's neither here nor there. Kind of got off track, but what I would say is Diddy had his team come into court and they're asking for a actual dismissal of his charges or a new trial for it. This tells me that his attorneys are not feeling positive about his sentence. For them to come at the 11th hour, right before sentencing, and ask for a dismissal or vacate his conviction, or give him a new trial so that they may better represent him, or he should be recharged with something different than the man, because they're saying that he didn't do that. He didn't profit. He did not solicit prostitution in a way that they're trying to. He's saying that him and his girlfriends decided to have threesomes, and they flew all over the country to do that. Um, so I'm gonna say I don't think that they feel too comfortable with what the outcome's gonna be during his sentencing. So they're trying to pull out the stops right now to get him a better, what I would say, um, better results than what they're thinking. I'm thinking that they're figuring that they're gonna try to slam him. They're gonna try to throw the book at Diddy. I mean, everything that he's been doing Seems like it's been kind of falling on deaf ears as far as programs that he's doing inside the prison and how he's helping out inmates with free game or whatever they said how they said it. Um, it's not enough for his attorneys to feel comfortable with going in on October 3rd and thinking that the judge is going to give them the most favorable sentence. Think they're thinking that it's not gonna turn out the way that they hope. So this is a last ditch effort to try and get this man free for something that they feel he shouldn't even be charged or locked up with. So that's what I'm gonna say about that. Not really sure about what I feel as far as what's gonna happen. I can't understand and appreciate what the efforts of his attorneys are doing to try to get him the best favorable, outcome for this situation, but I don't really have an opinion either way as far as should they redo a new trial, should they vacate his conviction, or should they just go through with the sentencing thing? At this point, I would say the sentencing thing is probably going to happen regardless of whatever outcome it may be. I don't see them dismissing his convictions. I don't see them granting a new trial. Not at this point. So I would say it's a hard no to that happening. So next thing I'm going to say is I'm going to speak on this brother, and I'm probably going to speak on this brother. This may be my last. I'm going to say May because he's pretty entertaining and he's been kind of trending right now. So it's kind of hard to not speak on him with a show like this. I'm supposed to speak on everything. And that would be the Dame Dash Rico case that he's talking about with Envy and kind of put Envy on blast. He had people doing research and bringing up documentation that's public knowledge. I would assume that anybody can look this up. So it was kind of redundant, I would say, for Envy to deny it. Because without them even saying his name, everyone know who he is, and the description that they're depicting in this paperwork is pointing dead towards him. So, I would say if I was Envy, because it's coming out, it's coming to the public, they're gonna speak on it, and it's gonna be talk about it. Pretty soon this is gonna blow wide up. Whenever they start going into court and news outlets pick it up and start speaking on it, I think that it's gonna get out. So I would get ahead of it with Dame bringing it up on the Breakfast Club to him, and him, yep, you don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're saying. Yep, that's a lie. It's like I said, redundant. It's kind of dumb for him to do that with him doing that, And it's because I'm gonna say the reason why I feel like it was stupid is because you can see clear as day that they have you in the paperwork with the description. No one is going to be dumb enough to not believe that that's you. Who else did Caesar Pena do work with? Who else was doing seminars with him? Who else was part owner and selling these people dreams about homes that was unaffordable or not even their homes to actually even be listing and selling properties to people that you didn't own. So, do I think that Envy was privy to it from the beginning? No, I don't think that. I think that he thought that it was, he seen the money, he looked at the numbers that the man was making, and he figured, okay, I can leverage my celebrity to make me a few million off of this venture and endeavor. But do I think that he was privy to it ever? So at a point, I think that Envy was privy to um, what was happening as far as that. So I'm gonna say, but at that point, it probably was too late. I think that he was probably like what he said, 500,000 in the hole, and was trying to get his money back. So I don't think he really cared about the people being schemed at that point. He was trying to get himself out of being schemed, which drove him more deeper into the scheme because he should have bagged out then and went to his attorneys to try and do something civilly to get the money from Caesar. I think even threatening Caesar, I hate to use the word threat because you shouldn't have to threaten someone to give you your money back that they scammed you out of. I would say, but I think that those words are probably fitting. As far as threatening, pin you to, hey, I'm gonna expose everything if you don't give me back my money. Instead, you stayed dealing with this man, didn't want to rattle the cage, and you played a part in helping scheme other people, which I think you should have to deal with the consequences of. So I'm not gonna say um, that you intentionally came into the business plan or the business situation with malicious intent, to scam people. But I think when you found out it was a scam that was going on, you didn't disallow yourself. You didn't disassociate yourself from the situation. You kind of drove in deeper because you didn't want the scam to be exposed before you was able to get your money out of it. So in the pursuit to get your money back, you participated in scamming others. So there's some wrong there on your part. Sounds like Dame saying you may have to actually give up some information to the government um, on this case to slide yourself out of it. At this point, people are like, well, yeah, that's a snitch move, this and that. That is dead right now to me. I think that he should do whatever he needs to do right now to get himself out of the situation. And in order to probably even help some of these people regain some of the money that they lost, or even some dignity to feel like, okay, the person that did this to us is being punished for it. So I think it would probably be the least he can do. Um, with, turning over evidence to the state in this case to rectify some of the claims that these victims have been reporting. So to me, I feel like if you look at it from a street point of view, then okay, yeah, empty snitching, and but look at the whole situation. It's not a street situation. I mean, it's a crime. Yes, I think he was privy to it at some point and didn't say anything, so he was complacent with it happening. But it's not a street crime. It's a white collar crime. It's a corporate type crime. So I don't think that you even include street rules in this. If I'm saying that right, I mean I don't know. People probably gonna be like, "What you mean, Ski?" All street rules apply. Like it doesn't when it's not in the street. That's not street. It's a corporate thing. They was going out there. It took a lot of thinking and elaborate scheming to come up with this. Street people don't come up with elaborate schemes to commit crimes. You know, they do the most obvious crimes out there in the street. You selling drugs. You put together some type of organization. You in a gang where you guys are doing. It doesn't take much thought, you know, to pursue street crimes. This was white collar. This was a thinking crime, a thinking man crime. So he had to put together a whole team to make this happen. A highly educated, highly skilled team to make this happen. So we're not gonna put this in the category of street and what you would do as far as street, you know. So Envy's telling is kind of on track with what people would do that's involved in a crime like this, right? So I think he's gonna make a statement. I think he's gonna tell something about what's going on in these scenarios, in these situations, right? This situation. So expect to see Envy on the stand, you know, pointing out Caesar and I didn't know, and, you know, being dramatic and acting. You know, he's not really a great actor, so you're going to see the fakeness in it. And what I'm saying, you guys are going to see that I don't think in the beginning he was aware of the scheme. But I think he became aware and then he became complacent because he was already, I think, if I'm not mistaken, he's been saying that he lost 500,000 from a situation with Caesar that made him look at Caesar funny. And I think that was the point where he figured out it was a scheme. And he kept going with it to get his money back. That's just my opinion on that. So, that is that. That's what I want to say. I don't know if I was even talking about Dame. I'm just brought up Dame because Dame brought it up and he brought it to the attention of everybody. So, yeah, I'm kind of happy about that. I'm glad it didn't have much to do with Dame. So, my next topic I'm going to touch on today is going to be Trump's rampage. Has everybody seen how Trump been on a rampage? He's coming after all his political enemies as if he said he would. I mean, I don't know how everybody or anybody's acting surprised behind his actions on what he's been doing lately. You know, he got ex-FBI director James Comey indicted for the mismanagement or falsified statements that he made against him, coming at him on a campaign after the campaign trail or about his cases. And then they got leaked tapes with him telling the Attorney General now, Pam Bondi, I don't understand how these people are able to work for this man and not pull their hair out by the things that he's been asking for them to do. And his erratic behavior, you know, for him to rattle off to this woman about all of the stuff that they need to do and what he want her to do right now because of what he's promised on the campaign trail. And this is going to mess up our reputation. Nobody's going to respect our words because I said this and nothing's happening, right? So I think that a lot of politicians say a lot of things that are never going to get done, right? And they say it for shock value and to get the crowd behind them and to bring in more votes, right? That's the name of the game. It's been going on forever. It's done on each side, right, left, Democrat, Republican. It's on both sides. So as far as that, I don't think that people actually 100% believe what you're saying, or your reputation is hanging on by um, what you said during your campaign. It's not. I mean, you're doing most of the things that you said you was going to do, whether it's hurting or helping any and everybody, right? Even your base, is suffering for some of the things that he's putting in place, that he's at input, with the shrinking down of the federal government and, cutting all of the money from the feds, which is even hurting, um, trickling down to the states, that's what's trickling down to the counties, to the cities, principalities across this country is being affected by the cuts and the things that this guy is doing. So, um, no one feels like you're not gonna do what you say because you did what you say. So I'm gonna say this isn't what's gonna hurt your reputation if you didn't go after these people. Um, what's gonna hurt your reputation is going after these people, and everybody's seeing that it's a selfish act. It's to stroke your ego because it was bruised by these people coming after you for certain things. I mean, you even said anything. They impeached me twice. They indicted me 5 times. Something has to give, right? So you name off these people, Letitia James and, Fannie Willis and all of these people who was prosecuting you. And, they even found, I don't know if it was Letitia James, one of them got a conviction on 34 counts against him, so I don't understand how um, you doing this is going to help your reputation. Other than, yeah, he does what he says, even if it's going to hurt and be detriment to the American people. He's going to do what best serves him, right? So that reputation, I think you have that reputation already cemented. But I say Trump's rampage because he's going after everybody. But the one thing that he hasn't, and they will not speak on, right, will be those Epstein files. He's doing everything in his power to offset it, right? I hate to say this, but I think that I think with Charlie Kirk dying, being assassinated, being killed, they even used that as a distraction or tried to. They drug the news stories out. Fox played Charlie Kirk interviews and people talking about what happened and how it's disgrace for the country, for certain people that's going on TV and speaking ill of this man and trying to talk him up as a martyr, a Christian martyr, when um, to drown out all the other noise of the other things. I mean, I think he even used it like, if you were to go into even what, happened with Jimmy Kimmel, right? And they put Jimmy Kimmel back on the air. I know everybody knows that, right? And I want to speak a little bit on that too after this. But even with that, like, so you attacked him because he said something that you said was insensitive. And I've heard worse jokes, worse rhetoric about Charlie Kirk than what was said on Kimmel's monologue on his show, and to get the FCC and Hugh Wilder powder. Like, they keep talking about they don't want socialists or fascists in this country, but they're doing a lot of things. He's using a lot of things that shows dictatorship to me. Shows like a communist type way of thinking or a bruises. He don't even apologize. He's unapologetic behind the things that he's even doing as far as what I can say as far as how he's using his power. He's wielding it for what's gonna help Trump. It ain't even about the base. It's not even about MAGA. It's about Trump. At this point, because the large population of his people, shall we say, MAGA, is in a position of every other poor person, and his policies are hurting them as well. So I don't think he's doing what he's doing for MAGA, as he say. I think he's doing what he's doing. That's what's gonna best benefit Trump, right? What's gonna put him in the best space, right? What's gonna put his family in the best space, even if it means destroying the country. All of these things that he's putting forth, is statistical and factual, basically to say that this is gonna hurt us even more. We finna add another $7 trillion in debt to us within his 4-year term, right? I think we already then probably topple a trillion, a trillion and a half, right? Within 6 months, you got 8 months, like the damage that has been done already within this time with the things that he's doing, right? And then they keep talking about all this tariff money, right? Yeah, we're bringing in so much money, this and that. So why is things steady costing more? What is being done with the money that you guys are collecting from tariffs? Because they keep saying that hundreds of billions is coming in, right? But what do we see any benefit from this? How is the tariffs helping us, the country? Because you said that we was losing, they was taking money from us, they wasn't paying their share, right? And now that they are, because you've been on attack to do this, where is that money? Why isn't we benefit from that? Why have we seen any relief from you collecting all these tariffs? And if what you're doing is going to build more debt, wouldn't the tariffs offset that? Because you're bringing in hundreds of billions of dollars, you said, a day from all these other countries that's paying now. But what's being done with the money? Just a question. This is a thought that I had, like I was speaking with my family about. Like, what is any of this doing for the people, right? The law-run people, right? The ones who really voted for you and put you up, not the ones who gave you the money and backed you or whatever, because I see the benefit that they're getting, right? But what about us? Is anybody asking that? MAGA, liberals, whoever, right, left. What about us? That's just a question that I'm asking. So, like I said, I wanted to speak on Jimmy Kimmel, right? Jimmy Kimmel and his monologue from him coming back, right? And then they didn't even put him on all the stations, right? Like, and then he cracked his jokes, he spoke, and he said things about Trump, and then he did the shaky voice and cry, which I think, I would have to agree with Charlamagne. I didn't like that, I think that same force, him reading off that monologue or saying that he didn't say anything purposely to make light of a young man's death, and like I said, did the fake cry, shake, or whatever. They asked for an apology. I don't think people got it, but he gave it to him. Nobody's gonna know if he personally donated money to Turning Point, but he folded. Oh, Jimmy, yeah, it worked, this and that, and then he cracked a joke and said, yeah, because they asked me to say this. You can subscribe to your Disney Plus and Hulu account by, and everybody ran right back to it. So they got what they wanted, and they put him back on the air to give you guys a false sense of you guys got what you wanted. But Kimball did everything that they asked him to do. He got on there and he whined. He said stuff about Trump. Yeah, you can say that, but you apologize, basically. I said there's no way of us knowing if he gave money to Turning Point or Charlie Kirk's family or whatever. But I wouldn't be surprised if it comes out later that he did that as well. Think that he did everything that they asked him to do. So, did they really win? Did we people really win? They said this was the best monologue on late night television in years. Why? Because he got up there and cried and act as if he was still being defiant, but he really was apologizing for the situation that happened with Charlie Kirk. I'm just saying, think about it, people. It's my opinion. I feel like he gave them what they wanted. He bent the knee. And in order to appease y'all, they are hiding that he bent it. And I don't think that they thought that anybody was going to be smart enough to read into that he bent the knee while giving that monologue. And most of us didn't catch it. But some of us did. And I was one that did. He gave them what they wanted, people. Did they win? No, I don't say win. But did they lose? Think about it. He got put back on TV. He basically made an apology to the family about the joke that he said he didn't feel that he was saying anything to make light of a young man dying, right? With the shaky voice and the fake tears. And then he jokes about you turn your Hulu and Disney Plus subscription back on like this, and people ran and done it. So did anybody win in that battle? And did anybody really lose? They suspended Jimmy Kimmel, but I'm quite sure they were still paying him the entire time while he was on suspension for the 2.5 days or whatever that they suspended him. And then they switched back. So I'm just saying, you guys, don't shoot the messenger. I'm just here to bring what I feel is real and what I think I saw that was obvious that everybody else could have seen that it was obvious as well. So I'm gonna be done with that. I'm not gonna beat a dead horse. I feel like I'm doing that by constantly harping on the situation that's been over with. I mean, it was a moment in time, it happened, now it passed, right? So that's how I'm gonna do with this segment of the show. We're gonna move on. I wanna start doing a little part of my show, maybe in the beginning, maybe in the middle at some point, or maybe at the end. Today I'm doing it at the end. This is an experiment that I'm trying on here that I may expand upon and probably even make a show out of it. It's one of my things that I'm kind of passionate about, so I always wanted to actually do some type of programming or teaching, history. And I have some history for you guys, a piece of history that I know that's out there. It's on the internet. You can Google this and everything. Hopefully, you guys will after this little tidbit that I do have on this. So, this segment, I'm going to call it History with Ski, right? So, a piece of history that I think a lot of people probably did not know of, and a lot of people probably do, and as of now with technology and everything, and we putting everything out there, people are getting more aware of things that's was hidden, to the average person before. The internet is making the world super small, so you're able to find out things and find things. So I'm just gonna do a piece to make put some more awareness. Sorry. Some more awareness on this fact about history, right? So I know everyone's spoken of you guys heard about the 1619 Project. Well, 1619 is the time when the first slaves was brought here from Africa to the shores of America, right? And it was brought here and made to, work the land and build this country, as our ancestors had done. Um, well, this piece of history that I want to share with you guys is not to negate from slavery, but I just don't like that. That's the one thing that we always harp on as far as our history. Our history goes so far beyond that, right? The oldest bones that was found on this earth, in Ethiopia, I think Africa, is from a black man. So we've been here for a long time, way before slavery was even, a thing in America, right? In the Americas. I want to speak on the Black Moors, right? I know people have heard about the Moors and the Moorish temples and the teachings and everything, right? But that's about it. That's probably as far as it goes. Oh yeah, he's Moors, this and that. What they called the Black Moors, they call them Blackamoor, right? Um, or Moorish Negroes. It's a lot of different names. Well, this is a piece of history about a Moor named Esteban the Moor, or Black Esteban, Black Stephen. Esteban translates in English to Stephen, right? So Esteban the Moor. We're going to speak on Esteban the Moor. Came here, I think, twice on expeditions before Columbus even reached here. It was 1491 or something like that was the first or the second time he came, but he came twice before. And Columbus even mentioned this, that Black Moors were here before him, right? And some of them had, staged here and intertwined with Native Americans and, had children with them and became tribal people, right? That's why you have a lot of indigenous people and Africans that consider themselves indigenous, because they tilled this land before it was colonized, right? Because they've been here. So Stephen came here on an expedition. I think the second one was in 1400 something, right? Don't quote me exactly on this. But he had a Native American wife that he had kids with. So while they were scouting the land, he came with some Spanish guys, some guys from Spain, and Stephen was sent out, I would say probably 50 miles or 50 yards ahead of the rest of the campaign to scout lands, and he would leave signs. He would make crosses. The bigger the cross, the more prosperous and big the town is. Well, he was sending back messages to them, letting them know that he was coming upon civilizations, like people was already here, right? While they're sitting to discover something. So one of them was for a town. He sent back a cross that was the size of a person, because of how big and vast this land was and plentiful. They thought that Stephen may have mistaken some bushels of corn that was drying on the roof as gold. So he sent back this grand cross, letting them know how big and vast this land is that they're gonna come upon, that they recognize. Well, he kept moving forward and inward, and he came upon this one village that mistaked him as a Comanche. A Comanche was a type of, like, I would say, to them they like was like gods, sort of deities or whatever, and they mistaked him for one. And Esteban the Moor was killed. He met his demise in this land, and his people that survived was able to send back a message to let them know that Esteban had met his demise in this area, but they mistaked him for this deity, which made them kill him. But that is um, some history on Esteban Moore, a person who excavated this land. I think been here twice before Columbus ever set foot on any of the Americas, the Caribbeans, or whatever. He had been here, and it had been Moors here way before then. I mean, it's a lot more stories that you could go into that we have been here. We discovered, came to say discovered, we came to this land well before they had. And blacks were even on, Moors actually was even on the Pena, I think, the Santa Maria. These are Columbus boats. He had 3 of them. Can't remember all their names, but they were on there navigating. You know what a navigator is, guys. Navigator is the one who actually reads the map. He's the one who uses the compass. He navigates you to where you need to be. And these were Moors. These were black men that did this. So, hope you guys enjoyed that piece of tidbit of history. I don't know about explained it all the way, but like I said, you can look up Moorish adventures, excavations. Look up Black Moors, Esteban Moore, or Stephen, or Black Stephen is another name for him. But this guy came here years before Columbus set foot on any Caribbean island, any piece of America, right? They had been here, and Stephen and I think was off the coast of Florida. That's where they landed, and they came in, and that's where he met his demise in one of those areas in Florida. But yeah, it's a piece of history. You call it Black history. I just like to call it history because there's no such thing as a colored history, right? We was a part of history. They were a part of history. We all a part of history. So I'm just gonna call it history. I'm not gonna say Black history. I'm not gonna say regular history. It's just history. I would like for you guys at this point, or hopefully you've been doing it earlier through the video, to like, subscribe, follow the journey. If I said anything to make you think, like my brother said, hood educated, I'm very grateful for that. If you guys would like to put any comments in the comment section that I can go over, I love comments. I will respond to all of them. The past few shows, I've been asking for people to leave comments and haven't got any. So I'm looking forward to seeing some comments, give me something that can help me think, to more educate me that I can bring back to us as a unit, and we should grow and build together. So, like I said, Inskee's opinion is sure about everything. Not that at all. I'm out. See y'all next time.